Hello everyone, wishing you all a very good afternoon. Good afternoon, Abhiram, Tarun. How are you, beta? Am I audible and visible to all of you? Yes or no? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Everyone? No? Can't? Okay. So, welcome to this class. I hope everyone is there. Looks like so. Chalo. As I told you, today's class is going to be a very interesting and important one because we are going to discuss what we started in the last class. We're trying to wrap it up today. Constraint or constraint relations. Now, what are these constraint or constraint relations? Anyone has any idea? What are these constraint or constraint relations? We have talked about the constraints or constraint relation. We saw three types of constraints or constraint relations. One is wedge constraint or plane constraint. Number two, what was number two? Number two was string constraint, and number three was mixed constraint. Do we remember this? Can I have some days that we understand, that we remember these three types of constraint? Did we discuss them or not in the last class? Let me have a look. Did we discuss them? Yes or no? I'm not getting any response. That means we have not discussed them. It seems like that. Is that so? Did or did we not discuss constraint in the last class? Last class was yesterday. We had discussed plane constraint, wedge constraint, and string constraint. Do we remember this? Can I have some raise hand that we remember this? Plane or wedge constraint, string constraint. Abhiram remembers it. What about others? I also posted that PDF. I forgot to post it last night. I was a bit busy. I posted it now. Abhiram remembers it. Only Abhiram remembers it. What about the others? Vishal, Akshara, Vasant, Tarun, Tanu, Niharika. Do we remember what we had done in the last class? String constraints, block attached by strings, plane constraint, wedge constraints. Okay. Now in today's class, we are going to deal with string constraint. Now, string constraints are the constraints which we will observe in majority of questions. Now, in the string constraints, we might also encounter mixed constraints where string and surface constraint or plane constraint will come together, but those will be very simple and very obvious. We'll try to discuss this string constraint. Now, what do you mean by this string constraint? Let us go back and see. See, if I make this simple diagram here, if I make this simple diagram here, block 2, block 1. Now, if I just tell you or assume that this block is going down, block number 2 is going down, what happens to block number 1? What happens to block number 1? We all know that block number 1 is going to go up. Yes or no? Do we agree on this? Block number 2 goes down, so block number 1 will come up. Now, if I say that block number 2 goes down by x2, block number 1 will come up by x1, x1 and x2. in magnitude will not be same because they are not connected by the same strings. Have we understood this? Yes or no? Can I have some reason that we understand this? Can I have some reason that we understand this better? Am I audible and visible to all of you? Am I audible and visible? Okay. If this goes down with velocity v2, this will come up with velocity v1. If this goes down with acceleration e2, it will come up with acceleration a1. Now, what I mean by the string constraints or constraint due to string, though these two blocks are attached by different strings, if I call this string as string number 1, and if I call this string as string number 2, they're not attached by the same string. If they are attached by the same string, it is very easy to understand that if this goes down by x1, this will come up by x1. If this goes down with a velocity v1, this will come up with a velocity v1. If this goes down with velocity acceleration a1, this will also come up with an acceleration a1. But if the strings are different, in this case there are two strings, it can be more than two strings, three strings, four strings, it can be more than two blocks, three blocks, four blocks. Even though they are not attached by the same string, even then this x2 has a relation with x1. x1 and x2 are still related. x2 is going down, x1 is coming up. They are still related to each other because even though they are blocked, these blocks are not attached by the same string, they are attached by a combination of strings. And hence x1 and x2 are related to each other. Similarly, v2 and v1 are related to each other. There exists a relation between v1 and v2. Similarly, there exists a relation between a1 and a2. Now, how do we find out that relation is what we are going to understand in this string constraint in this topic. And how we are going to understand or how we are going to derive that relation. Remember, there was a question that we did. We'll solve that question. There were three unknowns and two equations. And you told me that it cannot be solved in yesterday's class. Then we came to string constraints, that there must be more equation, and that equation will be achieved by this string constraints. What will we get in that equation is a relation between a1 and a2. We'll try to derive a relation between a1 and a2. Now, how do you get this relation between a1 and a2? We will utilize something known as the tension in the string to find out the relation between a1 and a2. Now, this method which we are going to apply, this method that we are going to apply, to find the relation between a1 and a2, or the method that we are going to apply to find the string relation or constraint relation between a1 and a2 is known by a peculiar name, and the name is known as virtual work. Virtual work. So we will be using this term or this principle, virtual work principle, to find out the string constraint, or in simple words, we will be trying to find out the relation between a1 and a2. And that is the main aim for this string constraint theory or virtual work principle. Do we understand this? Do we understand the problem that we have in that question where we had two equations but three unknowns? We needed one more equation. That one more equation will relate
one acceleration to the other acceleration, and to find out that relation, we are doing this constrained motion wala part. And to find out the constraint due to strings, we will be using a principle known as virtual work. Can I have some raise hand that up till now, so far, so good, so clear? Do we understand this? That we'll be using virtual work to find the constraint relation. Vishal, Vasant, Tanu, Niharika, are we there? Do we understand this? That we'll be using this virtual work principle. Yes or no? Tanu, Niharika, are you not there in the class? Vasant, Vishal, what about you? Now, the first thing that will come to our mind is, sir, we don't know what is virtual work. Forget about virtual work. We don't know what is work. Virtual means it is not real. So we know virtual. We still don't know what is work. Work in physics and work in daily life are different. Right now, I'm writing something. I'm sitting on the table. I may not be doing any work in real world, but in physics, I might be doing work. In real world, I might be doing work, but in physics, I might not be doing any work. How is work defined in physics? Now, again, whatever I'm telling you is basically based on a principle known as need to know, which I call need to know basis. What do you mean by this need to know basis? I'll only tell you what is required at this stage. I'll not tell you anything more. I'll not tell you anything less. Work, power, energy is an entire chapter, a very big chapter that will come to you after this chapter. So we'll be discussing this work in great details in that chapter. Right now, what we are more concerned is the virtual work principle. So our discussion is based on how we are going to use that principle, not on work as such. But since it is based on work, we'll have to understand work. Now, to understand work, we first have to find out what is the definition of work. What is the definition of work? I'm not going to the definition because we'll be covering it up in great detail in the next chapter. I'll just write work a formula. And this is the formula of work. You might not be aware of the terms that I'm using. So let us deal with those terms one by one. What does W stand for here? Anyone? What does W stand for here? Yes, beta. W stands for work. What does F stand for here? F stands for force. Remember this delta R? What is this delta R? What is this delta R? Very good, Daviram. This delta R is displacement. One more thing you must remember. Work done is a scalar quantity. But force as well as displacement, both are vectors. Force and displacement vectors. Work done, scalar. I told you, scalars and vectors are totally different from each other. Vectors have magnitude and direction, and they obey vectors law. Scalars only have magnitude, don't have any direction. They don't know what is vector law. They can be added or subtracted just like numbers. Vectors are vectors, scalars are scalars. Vectors cannot become scalars because they are totally different quantity. They are exactly, you can call them opposite of each other. They are like BJP and Congress. They are like India and Pakistan. They have variety of differences. They are very less similarities. But I can convert these vectors. In fact, two of these vectors, or in some cases in your maths, you will see a vector triple product, three vectors into a scalar. Now, how is it that these two vectors, force F, displacement delta R, how these two vectors are getting converted into work, which is a scalar? I've marked everything in the formula that I have given. One thing, one small thing I've missed, and I've not told you what is that. Can anyone point out what is the small thing that I have not pointed out, which is doing this entire magic? This magic of converting two vectors into one scalar. Can anyone tell me what is that small thing that is converting two vectors into one scalar? It is right now, right in front of your eyes. Who will tell me what is that small thing that is converting two vectors into one scalar? No one knows it? See, it's right in front of your eyes. Vishal, Vasant, Tarun, Tanu, Niharika, Abhiram. Whenever a question comes in an examination hall, you must read it only once. And you must be able to see the smallest thing that this question is telling you. And that is why it is important for you to understand the smallest of details, smallest thing that you think, that might be the main point in the question. And the smallest thing that I have missed here is this small point. This small point I did not mention. This small point is known as, the name doesn't change. The small point is known as dot, dot, dot. And what it is doing is known as the dot product of two vectors. Why it is known as dot product of two vectors? Because it is represented by dot, dot. There is another name of this dot product. It is also known as the scalar product of two vectors. Why it is known as a scalar? Because the result is a scalar or a number. So the small thing that we have missed is basically the dot product or scalar product of two vectors. Now, if you go back to the class on vectors, we saw the addition of vectors, we saw the subtraction of vectors, but we never talked about multiplication of vectors. Because at that point in time, there was no point of discussing multiplication of vectors. The time is now. And as I said you, I always follow this principle of need to know basis. So now we need to know this. Now we need to know this. We never need to know work in the first case. We never need to know product of two vectors in the first place. Now we need to know it. Product of two vectors. There are basically two types of product of two vectors. One is known as dot product because it is represented by a dot. It is also known as scalar product because the answer is a scalar. The other product is known as, if I tell you, is known as cross product. And again, we will deal with it when we need to deal with it. The other product is known as cross product. Why it is known as cross product? Because it is represented by cross. The other name of this is vector product. Why it will be known as vector product? because the answer is a vector. So basically, when you multiply two vectors, two things are possible. Either your answer is a scalar. Please mark my words carefully. When you multiply two vectors, two things are possible. Abhiram, can you complete my statement? When you multiply two vectors, two things are possible. Anyone can complete my statement. Niharika, Abhiram, Tanu, Tarun, Vashant. What are the two possible cases when you multiply two vectors? What are the two things that are possible? What are the two things that are possible if you multiply two vectors? What are the two things that are possible when you multiply two vectors? The first thing is the answer is a scalar. That product is known as scalar product. The second possibility is the answer is a vector, and that is known as vector product or cross product. Am I clear? Can I have raised hand that we understand this? When you multiply two vectors, Vishal, Vasant, Tarun, Tanu, Niharika, two things are possible. Two. Number one, the answer is a scalar. Number two, the answer is a vector. What we are going to discuss here is the dot product of two vectors. Cross product we will discuss later on. When we need it, then we will discuss it. So we will discuss it later on. Now we need to discuss this dot product or scalar product. Are we ready? Is everyone there? Can I have raised hand that we are ready? Can you all raise hand that we are ready to discuss this dot product or scalar product? Okay. Now let us say that I have two vectors. One is vector A, the other one is vector B, and the angle between them is theta. Once I am doing this dot product, I will write it like this: A dot B, dot product of two vectors. And the answer that I will get is vector A ka magnitude multiplied by vector B ka magnitude multiplied by cos of this angle theta. This thing is known as the dot product of two vectors. Why dot? Because it is represented by dot. Why scalar? Because this entire thing, if you look at this entire thing in blue, first quantity is magnitude of vector A, which is a number. Second quantity is magnitude of B, which is a number. Third quantity is cos of theta, which is a number. So it is basically three numbers multiplied by each other, and hence it is known as the scalar product. And this thing is known as scalar product or dot product, represented by dot, dot, represented by dot, dot, and is multiplication of three numbers, and hence scalar. Would you remember this? This is one of the things that you must remember. What is dot product or scalar product of two vectors? Now what I'll do is I'll give you a question so that you understand this. Two vectors A and B of magnitude 2 and 5 units are inclined at 30 degrees. Find A dot B. Simple question. Give you 2 minutes. Solve it. How are you going to solve it? The formula is right there in front of your eyes. 2 minutes I'll give you. How many of you are trying? Only Abhiram is trying. What about the others? Abhiram, Tarun are trying. Akshara, Niharika, Tanu, Vasant, Vishal. What about you? Anyone with an answer? Anyone got an answer? Think I've given you enough time? Answer. How do I get the answer? So A dot B will be equal to magnitude of A multiplied by magnitude of B multiplied by cos theta. I just put the values. Magnitude of A is 2 multiplied by magnitude of B is 5 multiplied by cos of 30. How much is cos of 30, everyone? Cos of 30 is root 3 by 2. This 2 and this 2 gets cancelled. Your final answer is A dot B equals 5 root 3. A dot B, which are two vectors, but the answer is a scalar, which is a number, and that is the answer that we were looking for. Am I clear with this? How many of you got the answer? Can I have some raised hands that we understand this? Magnitude of A was 2, magnitude of B was 5, angle was 30 degrees. The answer is A dot B is 5 root 3. No one got the answer. Vasant, Vishal, Tarun, Tanu, Niharika, are you sleeping? Akshara, Abhiram. Am I audible and visible to all of you? Can you hear me? No one can hear me? Okay. Did you get the answer, beta Viram? Okay, I'll give you one more. I'll give you one more. I'm not getting responses. I'm not very happy with this. Magnitude of vector A is 10 units. Magnitude of vector B is 5 units. Angle is 60 degrees. Find A dot B. Now get me the answer fast. Everyone, wake up. We are doing a lot of interesting things here. We are doing a dot product. After this dot product, we will be, once we understand this dot product, we will be trying to get the constraint relations. Waiting for your answers, everyone. Magnitude of vector A is 10 units. Magnitude of vector VB is 5 units. Abhiram has got the answer. What about others? A dot B 10. Okay, just write the formula first. Magnitude of A multiplied by magnitude of B multiplied by cos theta. Magnitude of A is 10 multiplied by 5 multiplied by cos of 60. 10 multiplied by 5 multiplied by half. So the answer is 25. That is the answer that we were looking for. A dot B, as you can see, becomes 25. Do we all understand this? Can I have some raise hand that we understand this, sir? Abhiram understands this. What about others? Abhiram, Tarun are participating in today's class. Well done. What about the others? Are others sleeping? Okay. We'll be requiring a lot of these dot products in the class for constraints. Let us now discuss some important points that you must remember about this dot product. The first point is, normally the first point is the definition. A dot B. What is A dot B equal to? It is magnitude of A multiplied by magnitude of B multiplied by cos of theta. Yes or no? Will you all remember this? There are two things, three things that you should never forget. One, your mom and dad. Never forget them, what they have done for you. Your school, your teachers, should not forget them ever. Third, should never forget what is A dot B. A dot B is A into B into cos theta. Now, what does this A dot B gives us? It is known as scalar product. So it gives a scalar or number. The result of A dot B, which is the dot product of two vectors, is always a scalar or a number. Do we understand this? Can I have some reason that we understand this, sir? Everyone understands this? Okay. What else you should remember? Now, since it is a number, remember, number, it is a number. This number can be a positive number, it can be a negative number, or it can be simply equal to 0. Since it is a number, it can be positive, it can be negative, or it can simply be 0. Now, everything is right in front of your eyes. Can you tell me? Physics is simple. This is the part of physics as well as maths. Can you tell me what decides whether a dot product or a scalar product is positive, negative, or 0? Who or what is the deciding factor here? Answer is very simple. Look at this quantity. This is magnitude of A. Yes, Abhiram, that is correct. Magnitude of A is magnitude. It is always positive. This is also magnitude. So this is also positive. So magnitude of A and magnitude of B are always positive. The only thing that can be positive or negative or 0 if A and B are not 0. The only thing that can be positive or negative or 0 is cos theta. And this cos theta decides if the product, scalar product, is positive, negative, or 0. Do we understand this? Cos theta is the factor, or I can say theta is the factor. Abhiram said direction. Direction is the factor that decides if the scalar product is going to be positive or negative or 0. Direction decides. Now you will say, sir, how? How does direction decide whether the answer is positive, negative, or 0? So I'll now try to draw these two vectors here. Let us suppose my vector A is here. These are 90 degrees line. Now my vector B lies anywhere here to anywhere here. Theta, theta. So basically what I'm saying is vector B, if vector A is like this, vector B can lie anywhere in first quadrant and the fourth quadrant. In the first and fourth quadrant, cos theta is positive. Cos theta is positive in first and fourth quadrant. Yes or no? Cos theta is positive in the first and the fourth quadrant, or when theta is acute angle. Look at this angle, look at this angle. Both the angles are less than 90 degrees. They are acute angles. If theta is acute, that means cos theta is positive. Cos theta is positive. That implies work done, not work done. That implies the product or scalar product is positive. Are you getting my point, everyone? If theta is acute, cos theta is positive and my dot product is also positive. Can I have some raise hand that we understand this? Now, when is it going to be negative? If my vector B lies here like this, if I look from here or look from here, in both the cases, if it lies in the second quadrant or the third quadrant, cos theta is negative in the second and the third quadrant. That means when theta is obtuse, cos theta is negative and the dot product is also negative. Do we understand this? Abhiram, Akshara, Tarun, Vasant, Vishal. Do we understand this better? So basically, as you can see, the two factors which are deciding whether dot product is positive or negative is only the angle or only the direction between vector A and vector B. Now, if I do it like this, A vector is here and B vector is here or here. B vector is here or here. That means the angle is 90 degrees. Cos of 90 is 0. Cos of 90 is 0. That implies A dot B will be 0 if A is perpendicular to B. Remember this and never forget this. The dot product of two vectors is 0 if the two vectors are perpendicular to each other. When they are perpendicular to each other, the dot product of these two vectors is 0. This principle or this knowledge will help you a lot in solving very difficult questions very easily. Two vectors are perpendicular, their dot product is 0. Do we all understand this? Can I have some raise hand that we understand this? Can I have some participation that we understand this, sir? We are trying to understand what is dot product. Why we are trying to understand what is dot product? Because we have to understand what is work. Why we have to understand what is work? Because we'll be using this principle of work or virtual work in solving questions. In solving questions on what? On string constraints. So remember this. Am I clear? Okay. Now what happens? What happens if they are in the same direction? A and B are parallel or in the same direction, then what will happen? Can anyone tell me? They are in the same direction. If they are in the same direction, then what happens? Vector A is like this. Vector B, I have made smaller, just like this. If they are in the same direction, then what happens? Anyone, tell me, please. I want participation. If theta is 0, then what happens? I want answers from your end. If theta is 0, then what happens? A and B are parallel vectors in the same direction. When what happens? What happens to A dot B? In this case, A dot B becomes magnitude of A multiplied by magnitude of B multiplied by cos of 0. What is cos of 0? It is simply 1. So it becomes A into B. Remember, this A into B, magnitude of A into B is the maximum possible value. This is the maximum possible value of the dot product. If you call right of 0 as positive and left of 0 as negative, you go farther away from 0 on the right hand side. You say that it is increasing. This is the maximum possible value of the dot product that you will get. It will happen when the angle between them is 0. Raise hands will give me more confidence that we are following this. Yes or no? Are we following this, everyone? A dot B, when angle is 0, becomes AB. This will be positive. This will be positive and it will be maximum. You can also call it positive maximum. Positive A into B. One more case remains. These are the two important cases which we'll be encountering just now in your string constraints. If both are opposite, that means if theta is 180 degrees, then what happens? If theta is 180 degrees, then what happens? Then it becomes magnitude of A multiplied by magnitude of B multiplied by cos of 180. Now cos of 180 is -1. So A dot B becomes minus A into B. I'm not writing the magnitude wala sign because I told you that I can write magnitude of A as simply A, and I can write magnitude of B as simply B. Now, if you look at this, this is negative maximum. Some people also call it the minimum value. Now, if you consider right side of 0 as positive and left side of 0 as negative, you can call one value as positive maximum. You can call one value as negative maximum. But some people, instead of calling it negative maximum, they call it minimum, because we have learned from our first standard that on the right of 0, the numbers increase. On the left of the 0, numbers decrease. For me, whatever number is farther from 0, it is always bigger, whether it's on the right hand side or on the left hand side. So I will call number 7 as positive maximum. I will call number 8 as negative maximum. You can also call it minimum. Do we understand this dot product of two vectors? What is this dot product of two vectors? This dot product of two vectors is also known as scalar product, and A dot B becomes magnitude of A multiplied by magnitude of B multiplied by cos theta. You can also write it as A into B into cos theta. Remembering that magnitude of A can be written as A, magnitude of B can be written as B. So when you multiply two vectors by scalar product or dot product, we will get the answer as scalar. Yes or no? What are the important points about this dot product? As you can see, A dot B is magnitude of A multiplied by magnitude of B multiplied by cos theta. It is a scalar quantity or it's a number. This number can be positive, negative, or zero. What decides whether this number is positive, negative, or zero? The value of cos theta or the direction. If the angle is acute, less than 90 degrees, acute, the dot product is positive. If the angle is more than 90 degrees, that means the angle is obtuse, cos theta is negative, and the dot product becomes negative. If the angle is 90 degrees, the dot product becomes zero. Some people also call this condition as condition of perpendicularity. This condition is also known as the condition of perpendicularity. To find out if two vectors are perpendicular or not, what do? We find out the dot product of the two vectors. If the dot product is coming out to be zero, then we can call the two vectors as perpendicular to each other. Remember, what we are doing here in dot product is not the entire thing that you must know. What we have done right now is what you should know at this point in time. I will be covering up this dot product again after your 11th standard, before your 12th. So between your 11th and 12th, you will have some gap. So before starting your 12th, before starting your 11th, we did a lot of things. Before starting your 12th, I will again be doing some things. Dot product, I'll do in more detail in those classes. Right now, what I'm doing here is the part that we need to know at this point. Do we understand this? Can I have some raised hands? This is what we need to know about dot product at this point in time. After some time, we will do a bit more on this dot product. If the angle between A and B is zero, dot product can be called as maximum. I call it positive maximum plus AB. If the angle is 180 degrees, it becomes minus AB. I call it negative maximum. You can call it minimum depending on your thing. Now, I'll give you a question, and this is the question. This is the type of question that we would be encountering in coming classes as well. So just solve this question. A force of 5 Newton displaces a particle by 2 meters and the angle between force and displacement is 60 degrees. Find the work done by this force. I hope you would be able to solve this. A force of 5 Newton displaces a particle by 2 meters. The angle between the force and displacement is 60 degrees. I'll give you 2 minutes. Find out the work done by this force. I hope all of you are trying this question. Yes or no? How many of you are trying this question? So how will you do this? Work done is the dot product of force with displacement. Now what will be the dot product of force with displacement? Force, the magnitude multiplied by displacement, the magnitude multiplied by cos of theta. The magnitude ka force, the force ka magnitude is 2 Newton, so I write 2. No, it's not 2, it's 5. The magnitude of force is 5 Newton, so I write 5. The magnitude of displacement, the magnitude of force, blue one is 5 Newton. The magnitude of displacement, green one is 2 meters. 2. I hope you are following it. Just denoting it by the color code. Cos of theta. Theta is how much? Theta is 60. So multiplied by cos of 60 degrees, the yellow one. The value of cos of 60, we all know, 5 into 2 into cos of 60 is half. The answer is 5. Force ka unit is Newton. Distance ka unit is meter. 5 Newton meter. This is also known as joule. So answer is 5 joules. That is the answer for this work done. We will be using this principle, which is known as the principle of virtual work, in the next class. The questions will not be like this. Will not be asked to find out the work done. We'll be using it in the next class to find the constraint relation between two blocks that are connected by a string. That will be a point of contention. It's a very important class. Never to miss it. That will be, I think, on Monday. Monday we will meet again. Tomorrow you have a test. You will get the motion in 2 dimension in your test. There is nothing right now. From next test onwards, probably we'll get into Newton's law. I always believe that the test must not be of the immediate chapters. Test must be coming from chapters which are slightly behind, so that it gives you a good revision of what you have done. I am done with my class today. I hope you enjoyed this class. We'll meet in the next class and we'll be dealing with constraint in the next class. See you in the next class. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Bye-bye.